in the wake of the attacks. He's called it acts of war. The threat of further so-called lone wolf attacks is one that's unnerving, extremely unnerving for the public and the business community alike. Olivier Guita is managing director at Global Strat, a security and political risk firm for governments and companies, and he specializes in the Middle East and Egypt. I asked him what kind of anxieties his clients have now.
I mean, a couple of things. Obviously, that anyone could be a target because of the fact that they not only picked soft targets like in Mumbai, but they wanted to make the case that it was just, a random cafe. It could have been a random cinema, a random pizzeria. It is very important for clients to understand that now we live in a different world as far as targets. So for them to just focus on a concert hall, not going after, very spectacular targets, or the transport system, by the way, which is usually the case, or classical quote-unquote targets that would be the military, law enforcement, that would be, journalists that are viewed as anti-Islam, or Jews. So those are, if you will, the classical targets of jihadists. Because of the fact that we had that in January, and now they basically targeted anyone being sitting at a cafe, companies are looking at this in another fashion. In a way, they're not able to sleep at night the same way that they were sleeping at night on Thursday night. Because anyone could come into a large corporation, into a building in London, and start spraying bullets and killing people. And for the terrorists, that would have the same effect, or actually a larger effect when it comes to fear than, targeting Piccadilly Circus or targeting, a landmark of London that people expect to do.
But if you have a client then who is a big corporation, we know that you've got to sign in with the security guy at the door, and yet there are so many rules in Britain about people who have guns. You can't suddenly arm your security at the entrance, can you?
No, you are perfectly correct. And there are some buildings actually in London where nobody asks you to sign in. You can come in and out as you wish, which is very worrisome for me, that anybody could walk into at least through the building without signing in, and just say hello to the guard and then passing. So
yes.
I think we have to understand that our world has changed, and one way or another, the freedoms that we've been enjoying are going to go through the door, literally.
And isn't this an overreaction, though? I mean, aren't there people who are going to say, we're overreacting to what's happened in Paris, that we shouldn't be giving up our freedoms?
Right, but then the question is, when will people realize that this is going to be coming as something they would have to live with? Because I can tell you, which I said on your program in January, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Paris of Friday, this is something that is unfortunately going to occur on a mass scale very, very regularly in Western Europe. Because there's no way of stopping. I mean, we know how many plots were foiled in France, in the UK. Security services are very good, but it's just a numbers game. If there are 100 plots and they stop 99, people will blame them for the one they wouldn't stop. And there'll be one every few months or every few weeks, depending on the number of people trying to hurt us. And that, you can turn the page and say you're overreacting, but the fact of the matter is that the threat to our cities and our way of life has been multiplied by 10 in the past 2 years.
But if I come back up to the threat that's existed to London since the 70s when the IRA were active, I mean, I'm taking London as our example. One of the ways that everybody dealt with that was by increased vigilance. Everybody was more vigilant. Everybody was more aware of people carrying bags and leaving bags and all that kind of thing. People were looking for bombs that were being planted. What else can everybody do? I mean, isn't vigilance still a part of this?
Oh yeah, I'm not saying it's not a part of it. I'm saying it's just one thing that we have to do. In the 70s, they didn't blow themselves up. They were planting bombs and leaving because they didn't want to die. Now
Right.
we have, for the first time in France, 7 suicide bombers. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. Those guys were different than the terrorists in Mumbai. They didn't want to take anyone hostage, which the media at the beginning of the attack at the Bataclan said, it's hostage taking. No, it's not. It's massacre. And that's what's different from even, 7 years ago in Mumbai, is that they're not there to negotiate. They're to kill as many people as possible. So you can be vigilant. There were security guards at the Bataclan. They were killed on the spot. Yeah, you can have more security, but one way or another, you're gonna have to face the music, which means you're gonna have to step up security because people will demand it. If you have those kind of attacks on a regular basis, every month in a city in Europe, I can assure you that the people will be okay to curtail some of their freedom and have, airport-like security to go into Harrods.
Olivier Guita bringing up a dreadful possibility there, managing director at Global Strat. Well, Belgium is now in the middle of the investigation. French Interior Minister Bernard Cazeneuve says the attacks were planned in Belgium and 2 of the attackers were French nationals living there. Armed police carried out a series of raids in the Molenbeek region of Brussels earlier, although those are now over and no arrests were made. Martin van der Donk works for the Radicalisation Awareness Network in Belgium and the Netherlands. He advises local government and community groups on how to stop people from being radicalised. I asked him to tell me a little bit about Molenbeek.
Well, Molenbeek is very multi-ethnical. It's a neighborhood which is very dense when it comes to the population, and it also has a population which is very fluent in the sense that a lot of people are moving in and out, so that reduces the social ties which are normal for good neighborhoods.
So it's a mobile kind of a place.